agenda?
No.
Okay. We're gonna table the review and approval of the minutes until the next meeting. We don't have any public, any correspondence?
None.
Okay, broadband update. So Laura and I had talked about writing a quick interlocal agreement press announcement to put in the papers prior to the June meeting. I did this like a week and a half ago, and I have not been able to speak to Laura about it. She was closing up her business for a couple of weeks off and took off, so I don't have any feedback on it, and I don't even know, I have no emotional attachment to this, so go ahead and make any kind of suggestions, mistakes, does it make sense? Is it too long? Anything, I don't care. I sent it this morning. Since we don't have everybody on it, you can read it and we can get back, but it should go in maybe a week or two before the June meeting, would be my guess, at the end of May. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Besides that, I don't have any broadband updates, other than it's all on everybody's agenda, their warrants for the May, June timeframe. The other thing that's going on is the state is talking about putting a lot more money in the pot. I did talk to Joe that it does make sense for us to talk to them and see how they could assist us, and since we have a program that's ready to go, and that maybe they could get a win-win right off the bat. And we could go ahead and, I don't know what that would entail, if it means that they would guarantee the bond if Consolidated fell apart, or if we would get the money through the state. But I think it could be a win-win for everybody and maybe ease some of the anxiety for moving forward. So it's worth a shot, giving them a call and seeing what we can work with. And Joe was gonna get the right contact person, and we'll go ahead and do that in the next, we should do that probably ASAP, because I would guess that people are calling them fairly quickly to try to get on their list. Make sense?
It does.
I think we're probably further than everybody else because we started acting on our own, where everyone else might be just sitting back waiting for that money before they apply.
Right. So I think that could be a good story for them, for the state. I don't know, the way they did it with other bond programs is they would have money put inside that the service providers would go attached to get the money to implement it. That's how I remember it with Connect Maine. So I'm not sure how that would all work, but.
Kate, can you hear me okay? This is Daryl from the road.
Yep, from the road. Go ahead, Daryl, from the road.
Yeah, I left a voice with Peggy Schaefer, who heads up Connect Maine. And which Joe are you talking to?
Joe, our town manager, Joe.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you had a different contact, because I am trying to unravel that. And I also trying to work with our state legislator, Russell Black, and just trying to figure out how we could direct this money towards the Rangeley broadband effort. So I should have updates this week.
Okay. So I guess behind the scenes, Joe and Daryl, in the next week, we should move forward as fast as possible because people will be asking these questions. And we don't want it to delay anything or hurt anything, because they think somebody's gonna come and write us a big check,
Always.
On the wayfinding update, I'm gonna go ahead, I'll let Keith give the update, but we did have a scenic byways meeting on the 29th. And right now it looks like we're in good shape, but we're still, it's probably not gonna be by Memorial Day, right? Is that correct, Keith?
Unfortunately, that's correct, Kate. We are behind significantly at this point in even getting the structures mocked up, put together. So once I get through this week, I will hopefully be able to get a focus group on that, and we'll start cranking them out.
They did order there was the signs that are on the entryway signs, not the ones that are in town, had to have that material ordered. And that was ordered maybe, it sounded like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and still not quite in, so there's a little delay there too. But I think once we get everything rolling, you know, we should have it in by the time the summer really starts kicking in, which would be great. On the scenic byways meeting, you know, they talked about the signs, but they also talked about phase 2 of the signs and the wayfinding things. And of course, this is a broader group, so they're looking at different things, like Jim from the town park wants to have a sign and do a little trail, a walking trail through the park. There's talk about Depot Street again, of course, is an area that's a perfect area for us to build a nice entryway kiosk with some signs and information that people can go there because they're going to be parking there. So that parking, you know, that would be a phase 2 type effort. I think there was a couple of other things too, you know, that they were talking about on phase 2 on signage, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Kate, did they come up with a base cost estimate for phase 2?
Not that I remember, but they did have some grants they were going after for that already. So,
Oh, good.
yeah, so there's some activity there to get some additional signage and have it paid for. They also talked, I mean, the scenic byways, they're rewriting the quarter management plan, which would include, it includes the roads, you know, like where are the problems with the roads that are coming in and entranceway, because you know, they want the experience on the scenic byways to be as excellent as possible. They also want to have those hub locations well marked, and you know, places, instead of stopping for an hour to go to the bathroom, it's, you know, stop and stay 3 days type things. So that's where Rangeley comes in, is we're trying to be one of those stop and stay 3 days places on the scenic byways. And so there's money associated with that as well. And that's a big huge plan. I mean, that talks about overlooks, and they're gonna get, I know there's more signage happening down in, I always pronounce it wrong, Madrid.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do those interpretive signs for like Poacher's Paradise and like the history of it right there. And then I think Bill talked again about some of his walking trail and some additional signage there. So there's you know, some talk about that being part of follow-on phases and part of the bigger scenic byways proposal.
Oh, that's great. I met with Patrick Adams from MDOT. Joe knows who he is. And he's the point person that we did the sidewalk grant for the scenic overlook in Rangeley. But we talked about Rangeley, other projects, including Depot Street, and how to tie some of that in to get it into the work plan through a couple other potential grant funding from MDOT. And he wants to do a site visit. So Joe, we'll coordinate that. He possibly may come to Rangeley later this month.
I would also recommend he talk to Fred Mishu, who's been on our board, and the woman who's taking over for Fred when he retires, whose name escapes me at that.
Haley.
Haley, thank you.
Yeah.
They are pretty well aware and been included in all these meetings and been working on it, so.
Oh, perfect, perfect, yes.
Anything else on wayfinding?
Nope.
Yeah, anything we can do that we don't ask for money is the plan. Right, so.
Yeah.
I hate asking for money. Attainable housing update, Daryl.
Yes, things are moving along pretty well on that front. Matt Tear, who has met with several folks in Rangeley, and he was meeting with the codes and looking at zoning and all of those issues to go with the different property sites for a potential project. And they're moving full speed ahead. They got approval with John Wazaleski and Camoin Associates to do the housing market data analysis. And he is close to putting down a financial option on one of the properties for the attainable workforce housing rental project. And that could be happening in the next few days. And he's met with Ken Haley, of course, and Scotty Milbury and Sargent and McFawn and a few other folks. And I'm following up with him on Wednesday, and just to see where things are. And this marketing analysis probably would take about 60 days, 90 days tops. But in the meantime, they really like this one particular property. We all know where it is on Cross Street. And they think that might be a perfect location to do phase one, but they haven't limited it to that or ruled any other potential things that they've met with. So that's ongoing. And I'll be in town on the 6th this week, meeting with several folks, including Craig Sargent and others. So stay tuned. I think they're going to try to fast track something. And the biggest thing is to make sure that the local ordinances of zoning doesn't provide a roadblock. If that makes sense.
Yes.
But I think this would really be good. And they also looked at doing some pre-sold buy-ins where some of the Brain Trust of Saddleback would agree that they would allow some of those rentals a certain percentage so that the Saddleback employees can live right in downtown Rangeley. And they really like the idea of having the housing in the downtown. You know, obviously reasons for walkable and merchants are there and all of that. So, and they almost sounded like they're ready to potentially maybe even start a project this fall. So we'll stay tuned on that.
I have a question that just popped into my brain, so excuse me if I'm forgetting stuff. So a while ago, we were talking about getting a grant because we could claim downtown blight, you know, like that we had so many improvements percentage and
Yeah.
yeah, what
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But in
that's
the meantime- Yeah, in the
that one.
meantime, hold on, Jerry, let me ask my question. We've spent all this money, not we, people, on fixing things. So it's seeming like a harder sell.
Yeah, dealing with the blighted issue is a combination of rehabilitation, renovation, but also it allows for new construction as well. And one of the things, it's through the Community Development Block Grant Program, and they only have one little slot for downtown revitalization. And one of the big steps is to get our first TIF budget, so we have to show that we can provide some match through the TIF. And on the heels of that, the TIF, we have a small punch list that Joe and I are working on with the attorney, Alyssa Tibbetts. Minor stuff, really, that will have approval later this month, as soon as we get that done this week. And I think then the next segue is to go in and apply for $300,000 for slum and blight. That's the category that we use. And we would put together a declaration of slum and blight through the select board as part of that two-step process and then apply for the grant. And everything got delayed because of a number of factors. Everything takes longer and costs more, however you want to frame it. So I think that would be on the docket for 2022. And of course, we were hoping that would have been for 2021, but that's where we are. I did talk to the state DECD on these matters. So I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and the blighted issue, Kate, is just a national objective that you tick the box. It says, yes, we have some blighted properties, a certain percentage. And so we need to try to eliminate or alleviate some of that. And that's just the that qualifies us for certain funding sources.
Yeah, the question is, do we have the certain percentages anymore? That's the, I don't know.
Yeah, we're still okay.
Okay. The other question I have is, because I haven't heard one peep about it, is that walkway up to the overlook?
Yep, Joe could probably fill you in the latest. They just had a pre-construction on that, and the digging is already started, and that project is underway to be wrapped up in the next couple months or so.
The completion date, as proposed, is mid-August, I believe.
Mid-August, okay, so it'll be wrapped up this summer, Kate.
Good, because that took forever. It was a long one.
Oh, yeah, I know.
All right, I have nothing else on attainable housing. Anybody else?
Banner.
No, banners is next. So Keith, you're up.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right, so potential new direction, and I apologize for this, Kate. After our last meeting, I know you, Don, and I had come up with some options, and I got back to my office and had an epiphany, and then worked with display sales, and they were able to pull up an image for me, which I think you guys obviously can see in front of you. My primary discussion at first was the parking banner, which I'd like to order right off probably this week. Probably a half dozen of them to put at places like Depot Street, Pleasant Street, and then have others to hold on to. What happened though was we discussed the idea of lupins, and there was nothing to lupins in the what we had for options. So I had reached out to my contact for display sales, Brooke, and had a discussion with her, and she found us images of lupins and drew these up for us. So what that did in my mind though was thinking about Kyle Haley, for instance. He has a lot of images that just, to me, just are the emphasis of Rangeley. They just really capture everything that I live here for. So my question now becomes, would you guys be in favor of utilizing our local photographers and their imagery? Right now I have a verbal release, which I'll get a written release from Kyle, but he would allow us to use his images on these banners. And we could do the moose, the loon, the saddleback. We could do any image that you could think of that he has. And I think I'd like to see that route. And part of me now, looking at these banners with an actual image, they just really pop a lot more to me than those kind of hand-drawn or watercolored banners that we looked at.
That's great, Keith. Would display sales be able to use those images? Because they could print everything very inexpensively.
Correct. So there isn't there is a difference, but it isn't drastic in the price. They can take those JPEG images and put them on those canvases and then print how we want to with whatever we want for a font, and can release those relatively quickly.
Yeah, they're great. I've done a lot of work with them. She's great. The whole outfit. Yep.
The only question I have is on the one that you showed, it said welcome to Rangeley, and we were gonna have some that said maybe welcome to Rangeley, but not all of them. Is that have to be there, or is that just an example?
Yeah, just strictly an example. So I didn't want to go any further with prospected images for the reason that I wanted to have your support before I really pursued the idea of a Quasic, welcome to a Quasic, or welcome to the Rangeley region, or the region, or whatever, however we phrase it, or we just go with pictures.
Yeah, my personal opinion is I absolutely love it. I think they're great. I mean, I think they're much more representative of Rangeley than what we were looking at, so, and like in winter, we were having a hard time finding things,
Correct.
I guess, so I don't have any problem with it at all.
So the only thing is that Kyle does awesome work, but he's not our only artist in town.
No, correct. And that was my statement initially, was I wanted to, not just utilize Kyle, but give the opportunity to, whether it's Nick Ledley or it's, even Sonia, anybody that has an artistic ability, I think we can look at their images and see if they can apply to our banners and how we want to. I just utilize Kyle because it was readily available for me at the time. So again, I'm not against using anybody for the region, the area. Again, it's just an image that I thought of. And
Are we compensating them, or is that to be determined?
So short answer is no. My thought on this, honestly, is Kyle has said that we could use these images. Part of me says that the ability for them to advertise is enough compensation, not to be ignorant, but I think it really helps promote their talent and it really helps show the region. So if they're willing to allow us to use X images, then that's fantastic.
So then the only thing would be that, we would start off with whatever we start off with, but then, like, you had talked at one point of having like a contest, right? Like you say, okay, for the fall banners, here's our 6 options, pick 3 and everybody ranks them.
Right.
So that would be, we could go out to the local artist community and say, please, if you want to, participate, here's the rules, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, Kate. And I think the plan is to get 3 or 4 right now that we can put up and get rolling because Memorial Day is coming. But I think going forward for the different seasons, we incorporate the artists in that fashion so that they know the parameters coming into it. So if they want to enter something in, they can sign the release and so forth. And then we have the Survey Monkey where the public chooses, the fall banners and the winter banners.
And then on the website, we could put displays courtesy of Kyle Haley's photography, Sonia Johnson's art, or whatever.
Right.
Is that something we could put up there? I
believe so. I want to clear all that with legal, but I don't want to use the word challenge. What we're up against right now is picking 3 or 4 things that you're comfortable with. We showed you the lupins. I think a moose or a loon, something like that, might also be appropriate, just to get us rolling for Memorial Day. Any thoughts on that?
That makes good sense, Joe, I think. And then you could always add 2 later on with the other seasons coming up.
Kate and Shelley, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I think that's a good idea. I do like, with the signs where it says welcome in really small print, I like the bigger welcome on that print, and just thinking like at the beginning of the town, you have the welcome and then you can have the other
Yes, that's what we
banners
were.
throughout. That's what the town of Eustis does. And then so then you have one for welcome to Quasit Village. Do you have, is that?
Yeah, well, I think we had talked about that, Keith, that on the entrance points into each community, we would have the signs that said the welcome part on it, and then the others wouldn't. So, of course, we'd have to have some that said welcome to Rangeley and some that said welcome to Aquasic.
Correct.
Yeah,
so just to get that, I didn't hear the first part of what Shelley said, but you're looking at A2, you prefer the larger font of welcome?
Yeah, because I can't really read, like if I'm looking at that sign and I'm thinking that when I'm driving a car, I'm gonna see that sign and I see the little welcome, I can't see it just from here.
I agree. My other question for you guys real quick is then, obviously we can change the font style. So does it make sense to become a little more blocky, not so?
Not cursive.
Yeah.
I think I like the not cursive because kids aren't even taught cursive anymore. They might not be able to read it.
I love that.
Serious.
I agree. So I'll get something, if you guys want to move forward, what I'll do is, I guess with your permission, or I can ask you guys to look at, I use an example for right now, so we have permissions. We can look at Kyle Haley's webpage. If you find images that you like, we pick 4. I get these out this week ASAP. We get a quick font change and we start to get these in.
Yeah.
Totally in favor, and, let's go move forward. You can quickly, if we can reply to you, in time, then that's great, but if not, just pick and go, it might.
Okay.
All right, you
You
have
have
lots
our
of
support, you haven't
people,
made the decision because we don't have quorum.
yeah.
Right.
Um,
And keep in mind, we'll just be doing an
and we
update.
already agreed to go forward as our committee, I don't think we're the important people here, I think, you know.
And Joe's gonna say the same thing, but this is strictly enough banners to get us through the first season. We're just gonna pick 4
Yeah.
images that captures the Rangeley region in the spring, summer area, obviously, to get us through. And then we have plenty of time now to look forward to the fall and in the winter. So I figure, like you said initially, we'll keep the loop in, a loon, a moose, and then X for the 4th image. We'll have the welcome to Rangeley, welcome to Classic, and we'll blow them out.
Maybe on the 4th image, maybe a boating or canoeing, you know, or something that's more active activity, that would be my only.
So how many choices do we have before it starts costing more money?
I think it's gonna be very similar to where we were. That's still gonna be around that, what was that number? I'm sorry, 1 second, it's right here in front of me. We're gonna be around $1,500 for banners, maybe $2 grand because we're getting a little more custom, but we have, our budget's our budget right now, plus the money coming in, so we should be in pretty good shape, especially if we have an initial order that gets us through the first part of the holiday, and then we can obviously add a few extra in if we want to.
Yeah, and I really like the parking ones too. Nobody's gonna say, I don't know where the parking is if they see that, right, so that's a good one.
So I'm gonna put a flag in, a flag order in today. So I want to order those 5, or like I said, 5 or 6 of those parking banners right today also to get those coming in. And then these other banners will be a little more custom, so I'll have to be, will be hopefully before the holiday, but they'll be here.
Will you be buying all the hardware today too, the actual?
That's our goal, correct?
Okay, perfect.
So that's
Yay.
4, right?
I think we talked about 30 of them, something around there, right? That was like
Correct.
every whole, yeah.
30 would give us a good start.
Well done, Keith. That's fantastic.
It's a team effort, and again, I want to reiterate one thing real quick. This was not my intention to discredit anybody's work prior or the selection we did have. It just was an epiphany in my brain, and the image happened to work out. I think it looks fantastic, and I just wanted to show you guys before we really
Keith, you
decided to
can
work.
have any epiphanies you want. That was great.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I like it.
Oh,
All right, so, do we have any new business? Anybody want to review anything? I guess on the other business, I just want to go back on that broadband update. I'm going away on the 9th and not back until the 18th or 19th. So, I guess if you could please make your edits and suggestions, or if you think it's totally off base prior to Friday or Saturday, that would be great. I won't even look at it before then.
Okay.
I mean, after I'm gonna be in Florida, I'm not looking at it.
oh, have fun.
Yay.
Have fun.
First vacation in years, so I'm psyched. Our next meeting then would be, today is the 3rd, 17th, it would be the 17th, so I will not be here. And then the following week would be Memorial Day weekend. So I'm not gonna be here on the 17th. I believe Laura's back, so we can tentatively schedule it for the 17th at 9 AM, and then if we feel like we're not gonna have a quorum and nothing to be discussed, we'll postpone that. Does that make sense? And anything, Joe, the only thing that's really urgent is anything we need to do on the broadband stuff because of the June meetings and, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Okay. So I'm wrapping up this meeting at 9:32. All in favor? Hey.
Aye.
I know what I'm voting. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, everyone.